Many denominations within the Pocket Monster ecosystem. Some of them come from fossils. Some of them came from a briefcase. Some of them came from two Pokemon slapping meat down the daycare center. What a spectrum we have over here. All the way from Jesus Christ's Pony Sona to the product of Jinx Porkin. So many Pokemon from these groups worthy of the Master Ball being slung at them on site. In fact, even better, they're deserving to live in the comfort of the luxury ball. But some of you out there are too focused on luxury balls when you ain't even treating your own balls with a bit of luxury. With this video's sponsor, Manscaped. Changing the game of men's grooming, bringing you the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra featuring the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. Top shelf grooming precision with their next gen dual skin safe blade heads, now accompanied by an upgraded trimmer and interchangeable foil blade. It's as easy as starting with the trimmer blade, then switching it out for the foil blade attachment to be getting down to skin level. It's like dual wielding two different trimmers, but only paying for the one. Seamlessly cuts hair while staying gentle to the skin. And it really is the full package deal with the Weed Whacker 2.0, not neglecting the game changer that an era nose hair trimmer is. Waterproof, cordless, rechargeable. And it doesn't stop there with the Crop Soother and Crop Preserver. Because it's 2024, no one is too much of a big man for a bit of self-care. Full deodorant and moisturizers, what a time to be alive. Why wouldn't you be taking that extra layer of freshness? And it's coming at you with two free gifts, the Boxers and the Shed 2.0, to keep your grooming gear organized. You can head over to manscaped.com and get the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra when you use my promo code Mr1upz to get 20% off plus international free shipping. Plus 2 free gifts. Your bollocks might be asking for it, fellas. It's 20% off, free shipping, 2 free gifts with code Mr1upz on manscaped.com. Now, I'm only focusing on the real groups, the real clicks, okay? None of that regional rodent, birds, or every cold-blooded animal that shares the same footprint as Lotad. I think I've done a video in some form on all of these individually, but here's going to be more my general thoughts on each one as a category and how they stack up against each other. So I'm ranking every Pokemon group. Baby Pokemon. Still don't really care. They've got some fun designs, but generally speaking, outside of world building, they just seem to exist as a barrier to getting strong Pokemon too quickly. For this ranking especially, if you had the choice for a Pokemon group, would you rather be riding on the back of a Rayquaza or feeding a Munchlax 28 gallons of sunflower oil to reach its daily calorie maintenance? You could be getting spotted in the gym by a Buzzsaw, but now you're stuck at home. You just had to get full custody of Mr. Mime Seed. At least within the lore, it answered many questions. It's still a mystery though, how Pokemon breed. It's somehow never been witnessed before, and seemingly an egg just magically spawns whenever you get two Pokemon a little drunk and put a bit of Marvin Gaye on. So we don't know how they're laying pipe, but thanks to this denomination of Pokemon, we do know that factually, pipe is being laid. A select few at least. Canonically, these 19 species, I think, have the evidence to beat the allegations. Any rumors floating about that they have no game except Mr. Mime. No, I don't think he gets any. I reckon Mime Jr. is its own species, and the adult mimes, they just snatch them outside of daycares when no one's looking. By the time Generation 8 was on the rise, it was only inevitable Pokemon inflation would become canon in some form, possibly a failed attempt at neutralizing dodgy search engine optimization like Sonic X Shadow, or the idea that Disney made Frozen so people would stop searching for Walt Disney's cryogenic Austin Powers tube. Practically speaking, I don't care for the form change at all. Like, what exactly is it? You get a stupid amount of HP and some turbocharged moves for about 3 turns. It's like a softcore fusion of Z moves and Mega Evolution, all wrapped together in a fun spectacle, which it is. It's a fun spectacle. You love to see it in the main story, but for the life of me, I can't imagine anyone wanting to use this in battling against real people. I know it's a bit of a meme, you know, that every new feature a generation introduces, it just gets left behind. But with Gigantamax, that couldn't have made it any more obvious that we're never seeing this again. I understand the lore reasoning. Dynamax energy exists on Galar from Eternatus. The whole region is specifically built to accommodate big boy season, but there's no long-term benefit of them existing. So they don't really feel like actual additions to the Pokedex in the way that most other Pokemon groups do. What it does have going for it though, I can't really say there's a legitimately terrible design here out of what, like 33, I think? And who isn't gonna want to see a new set of Pokemon forms in Godzilla proportions? Yeah, you do. You do want to see a Gengar with an 80-foot mouth that leads into the afterlife. You definitely want to see Blastoise with 30 cannons on its back. And don't even try to front to me otherwise. I know what you want to see. You want to see a Pikachu on the brink of a heart attack. Don't lie to me. That right there, folks, is a box office draw. That's showbiz, baby. Fossil Pokemon. I don't mind them, but if you're talking seriously, you want to go, well, mon for mon in this video. You're up against the Mega Evolutions, Regional Forms, Legendaries. Now the fossils, they're going to get left behind. Staying in Mount Moon, getting serenaded by a Geodude. I don't see how you could rate fossil Pokemon too highly here. It'd be good to see fossils make a comeback in Gen 10 after seeing no action in Paldea, but at the same time, I don't think I was that bothered. The fossils, they seem to skip a generation here and there. The main thing for me holding them back is that they don't get too, I guess ironically enough, adventurous with the fossils. Gala's take was finally branching off and getting a bit saucy, and I might dislike some of them, but the majority of these, they're just rock types. The fossils would have you thinking the planet consisted back then of 90% boulder. I always assumed the rock type being on most fossils, it was almost like a side effect of them being revived, as if their full form couldn't have been fully restored. And something like a prime, informed Tyrantrum, it probably would have been a pure dragon type back in its day. But still, rock dominant on that. Consistently, they have quite good designs throughout. The worst of them, they're probably just a bit average. And even the monstrosity fusion fossils that Gala showed us, they're on brand for what they're meant to be, being based around archaeologists or whoever sorts that out. Whoever fixes your man up, putting the fossils together, misplacing them, making a completely new hypothetical creature. You might think, I'm a bit mad for this one. What is this, like 8th place out of 11? That's like a C- if I'm feeling groovy today, if you're lucky. Legendary Pokemon, this slow down. I do just mainly think the other groups that I've got here deserve to be ahead of them. You can't argue that much otherwise when legendaries are such a diluted group these days. Unavoidably, but still, you need at least 2 every generation for the photo shoots. Then you have some kind of side group, a hidden legendary. Then you probably got a little gruesome twosome set of legends roaming about somewhere and all. You got your starters, your sides, your mains, desserts, and you got about 5 different dip selections worth of legendaries. And I'm not even really complaining about this necessarily, because there's not much you can do about it. I even like having more legendaries to hunt down, but you have to admit, they've kind of lost their prestige as time's gone on. Especially since it seems as though a lot of modern games, they just have some kind of post-game area where you can just run into them. The Pal Park wasn't in the Sinnoh remakes, so I guess what, you just get like a legendary farm or something? I swear on Ultra Sun and Moon, they just spawn from wormholes, so you can just get these whenever you want. You beat the Elite Four. The post-game might as well be an afters hosted by Arceus, and he's invited every single legendary over for you to catch and maybe do a few lines in the kitchen with till 8 AM. Alright, Groudon, get the Klefki out. You may as well have a post-game casino and have a legendary on each number of a roulette table. Don't even have to catch them. They just hand you a chip. When you cash it out, the legendary's already been wired to your PC. This doesn't take anything away from legendary Pokemon hosting some of the best designs going throughout, you know, as they should. But still, with so many now, there's going to be at least like a 20% chunk that are going to bring the grade average down a bit. Like, geez, it's Calyrex. Gee, they're just letting anybody be a legend these days. For a brawler at level 3 in its lifespan, it's already done more to be considered a legend. Now I'm telling you, pseudo-legendaries, that's where it's at. They're the better group. They're the true legendaries. With only 11 of them, and probably, what, 8 times as many known legendaries. You tell me, who's the real legendaries here? In Hoenn, you're more destined to get a one-to-one meeting with Groudon, the god of land or whatever, than you are a psychic dumbbell. In some cases, they're even just as difficult to get a hold of. Just that little old Beldum I just mentioned, he's got about as much chance as escaping your Pokeball as God does, Yahweh himself. And as the title suggests, they're all complete demons, tricep meat in abundance. It's just hanging off them at every angle. It's like a dinner lady 2 days from retirement. This is the group that destroys power scaling in Pokemon right here. Tyranitar's a long one. Okay, he's 6'7". Proportionally speaking, it's got the reach advantage of a stood-up Basset Hound. Yet that little claw he's got there, that little pincer, it takes down entire mountains. Garchomp is a shark that you could find swimming outside your plane window. And Metagross, he's just Metagross. And it's not just all nuclear level monstrosities now. They're an inclusive, diverse crowd. Dragonite and Goodra, some of the all-time greats on the chubby Pokemon agenda. A very airtight set of 11. It took them 9 whole generations to finally miss. Even then, Baxcalibur, to my knowledge, is still an absolute demon. It's like the Great Kali Vice Grip. 4-4-2 formation, toe punt in the ball. It might not be pretty, alright folks, but it gets the job done. Even the lower stages are full of charming designs. Aside from mythicals solving the issue that comes with legendary Pokemon being a bit too common, I think I prefer them as well, because they can get a bit more freaky with most of them since they don't have any kind of obligation to be tied up to the main plot, so they can't just do their own thing. Sleep paralysis demons, freakish cheese string aliens who occasionally have opposable thumbs, a big gooey nut monster. Mythical Pokemon, they have a bit of everything. Perfect balance of complete fiends and just little fellas. All the way from magical wish goblins to God himself, to monkeys who could peel my entire skin off like it's a morph suit and string me up like I'm Cassandra from Doctor Who. That make me question whether or not there really is a god. Mythicals, they have so many all-time greats. You got your Darkrai's, Deoxys, Mew, Celebi, Jirachi. I mean, sure, yeah, you get the odd Manaphy and Keldeo there, looking like geeks, but you know, they can't all be Jesus Christ, can they? We've already got 2 Jesus Pokemon as it is. Just how much more do you want to be diluting the Yahweh pool? 2 Jesuses, that's already a bit too greedy on the blasphemy scale, but 3, you better be getting wristbands to get past old Peter bouncing the gates. You better be donating a bit to Cathod here and there. They're at least a bit more exclusive than legendaries. At least they used to be before they got dropped off to you in a cherish ball. Listen here, right? I didn't sit through hours of my childhood watching Psyduck report the news just so you lot could get Jirachi via an Amazon Prime free trial. If you're young enough, then you lot missed out on having to graft through the spin-off games to transfer a mythical at the end if you were lucky. Hey, you might have learned something paying attention to the news here and there with Psyduck. Proper journalist, that is. He was right there, him and Meowth. When the towers fell, it was either that or unless you happened to live near a store doing a distribution event. Look, I really wanted to save that poor child being tormented by Darkrai at the inn. But unfortunately, I don't live near Toys R Us, so I guess he's just gonna have to perish. But all of this made getting the mythicals that much more juicy. Hacking the games to get these events, it always had a bit of an almost sinister feeling to it. Getting that Azure Flute from Action Replay and seeing the glass staircase spawn had the same aura as the PS2 red screen of death. Felt like I was gonna end up in a creepypasta. So when I order this, I'm not necessarily saying legendaries and mythicals are worse Pokemon than whatever I tier higher from here on out. But as a collective group of Pokemon, conceptually, Ultra Beast and Paradox forms are just so much more interesting to me. These 2 groups are on par with me for filling a freakish tricep meat-shaped void very similar to each other. Alternate dimension Pokemon, well, they're allowed to get extra weird with it, because you could argue they're not even really Pokemon. Even with the Paradox forms, even though they're alternate versions of Pokemon, you don't fully know they're actually Pokemon. They could come from a universe where pocket monsters aren't a thing, and they're in fact wallet friendos. That little after party down Arceus's place, they weren't Pokemon. I've seen this too many times, alright? Those right there are packet creatures. Don't be so hasty to assume these are Pokemon, okay? Because as far as we know, they've already ended up in the next Power World update. This is absolutely a gimmick that should come back in some form, because once you bring multiverses and all that into the fold, it's a bit difficult to assume that this is the full collection. So I'm very glad Paradox is almost like a pseudo-spiritual successor to Ultra Beast. Step in the right direction, a money direction. Any form of alien Pokemon is a money concept. Mega Evolution's by far the best battle mechanic introduced. It has to be, surely. And if you don't agree, you can go play League of Legends then, you little bastard. Or whatever games people who leave skid marks on convention chairs leave. Z-moves, Gigantamax. With Mega Pokemon, you at least know who's capable of it. If someone's using a Manectric, then you just grow to expect it. Dynamax and Z-moves, they can come from anywhere. From anyone. Any Pokemon breathing the same oxygen as I am can grow big and strong or slap you with a Z-move out of nowhere. Mega Evolution, there's a bit more class behind it. Bit more prestige, and the fact that most of the designs bang make it all the more worthy of being a mainstay in Pokemon. This should really be readily available in every mainline game afterwards. With Gigantamax, you can't be expecting every region to have the facilities to accommodate for big boy season. With Megas, what do you not have the facilities to slap a bracelet on? Have you got the hands of a Wooper? There's nothing stopping you from walking into some old man's house or any person's house in Pokemon who isn't currently soft locked in the back rooms with Darkrai, where after your champion or whatever, they can just hand it to you like a polite old Irish family member, giving you a bit of money, putting it in your hands and not letting go for a full 5-minute conversation. The starter Pokemon, they're just undeniable. No, really, you have to take one. You're not leaving me lab till you do this for me. You better like at least one of them, because you're not getting anything else good for the next 4 hours. You'll eat what you're given, but you're bound to get on with one. Even in the weaker trios of starters, you always get saved by at least one of the final evolutions. Unless you're doing some kind of challenge playthrough. If you hate all the starters offered and you decide not to use it, if you release them, that is nonce behavior, okay? I don't make the rules, just is. But you shouldn't ever have to resort to that, because they're always top choices. You're guaranteed at least 2 bangers in a trio of starters, at least a few out of their collective 9 forms. There's a reason why I didn't even build teams till I was about 12 playing Heart Gold, because our well-oiled Blaziken, the guys are one-man army. Like the Z fighters, they don't have to be that powerful, they just need to be strong enough to sit by and tank enough hits, waiting for Goku to recover so he can come over and handle business. Considering these are almost always the first Pokemon revealed, they can really set the tone for the build-up to the next generation. Arguably the most important Pokemon. Their designs have to be scientifically crafted to drain money from bank accounts. I've said it before, but if they botched the Kanto starters, I don't think I'd be here talking to you. I'd probably be talking about Boogie 2988 being a weapon, because Pokemon wouldn't have made it this far for me to be a YouTuber about. Can you really sit there and deny the importance of how iconic they had to be? If Pokemon Red and Blue were instead fronted with Spider-Man's arch nemesis, Wall, and a creature simply known as the Ogre. How many sales do you think they get? Huh? How many? That's right, baby, 1 billion. The best gimmick, the best forms, absolutely the best for world building. And you know me, I love me some juicy lore. Regional forms are some of the most creative additions to all of Pokemon. Every region from here on out should have its own set list of regional forms. You can have the around 90-ish new Pokemon, then I reckon there should be like a dozen regional forms. Makes old Pokemon relevant again, gives a region its own identity. So much untapped creative potential in past Pokemon brought out. We all thought Quillfish was destined to starve, and here we get Overquill because of it. Where do you even begin with what this has given us? When you crunch the numbers, when you really tally it up, you can't deny it's the best Pokemon group. A far-fetched evolution of Fire Marowak, an oddly conservative looking Weezing, an actual nonce, legendary variations, starter variations, the first normal ghost type Ice Ninetales, He-Man Dugtrio, Turkish Barber Golem, DMT Mutt, the Grog slinging slasher, the legend Berserker himself, and who could leave out the main eventer of Big Boy season, the Wham Clodsire. Banger method of world building, makes old Pokemon useful again, leads to convergent evolutions. You can have them in every game without gameplay limitations, and there's so many of them, but very few I can actually say are terrible. So regional forms are the one.